gotta have knowledge for life. You gotta have knowledge for life.
And welcome to our second segment of the show, and we're going to talk about a very serious subject. I mean, aside from preparing yourself for natural disasters or civil unrest, we need to take the first step to preserve this temple that we call our bodies. And we have a guest on our show who is going to be able to answer those questions. We're here with Mr. Rick Poole from Natural Foods Plus, and we want to thank you for coming on out and sharing this information with us.
Now, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Steve, and what you're doing here.
Yes, sir.
And for the community. Thank you.
And some of the things that I looked up as we want to start this year off healthy, it says that across the board, if you look at the 15 leading causes of death in the U.S., blacks have a higher death rate than whites in about 12 of them, including heart disease, cancer, stroke. And this is coming from a Harvard School of Public Health. Our health is in some cases worse than third world nations. What do you prescribe to that?
Well, your show is called Knowledge for Life.
Yes, yes, sir.
Our people are perishing for lack of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And then once we get the knowledge, then it's very important to develop discipline, to develop an action plan to do something about it. But mainly, you know, one of the commercials that I have running now is, you know, I talk about it's time to take responsibility for your health. Mm-hmm. You know, it's time to make better lifestyle choices. It's time to become aware of who and what is programming the programmer. Okay? Mm-hmm. You know, and then part of the commercial that goes on to say that, you know, we don't have to be overweight. We don't have to be a diabetic. We don't have to get or die from cancer, you know, but we have to take responsibility for our health. Part of that, Brother Steve, is number one, once we begin to find out, you know, the knowledge, as I said before, then it's time to develop a discipline and an action plan to do something about it. The things that you mentioned in terms of the 10 or the 15 chronic metabolic issues and how they relate to us when we begin to look at our lifestyle choices. Man.
I mean, lifestyle choices. I just read an article that said that I think it was close to, it said 70 to 90% of the diseases that we're inflicted with are lifestyle choices.
Absolutely.
Smoking, eating the wrong foods, not exercising.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean in terms of making better, first of all, becoming responsible for your health and then making better lifestyle choices, and that is basically eating. 80% of your immune system is located in your gut, is in your stomach. 80% of your immune system is located in your gut. So what goes into your mouth and down into your gut are the food choices that we eat. So begin to look at, you know, if we want to, we can go into look at some of the foods that we need to become conscious of and what is destroying us. Number one, you know, sugar. They add sugar to everything. And when I'm making reference today, I'm speaking of the power elite, the people in power, the people that is in control of our food choices. There's basically 10 corporations that basically, if you go into a grocery store, out of all the selections that you have, there's 10 corporations that control the food. They know that sugar is major cause for inflammation. When you get inflammation and when you get pain, what do? You go to the doctor or you go to a drugstore and you get some type of drug or medication to address the pain, to address the inflammation. So let's look at what's causing the problem. And what's causing the problem is our lifestyle choices. It's the sugar, it's the pop, it's the refined salt, it's the smoke, it's the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, these are the things that I'm speaking of when I talk about lifestyle choices and the lack of exercise and so forth.
And one of the things about sugar that people will find amazing is all the different forms that sugar come in. It's not natural sugar nowadays. It comes in the form of high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup, I was amazed to find high fructose corn syrup on the ingredients on bread. I mean, high fructose corn syrup is used in a number of things. And then there's aspartame.
Absolutely.
Aspartame, they say gives, it causes migraines. Aspartame, they say, is highly addictive. It's as addictive sugar, and these forms are addictive as cocaine is.
Absolutely. Aspartame is converted to formaldehyde in the body, and they know that. And so again, when we look at
formaldehyde
aspartame,
is embalming dead bodies.
absolutely. You know, so when you look at you know, NutraSweet, all of those are different forms of sugar. When you look at the corn syrup and so forth, major cause for pain, inflammation, major cause for heart disease, cancer, sugar feed cancer. Sugar is a reason for heart disease also. So, you know, for the people that may not know, at my health food store, Natural Foods Plus, and the Juice Caboose, we have a juice bar there. But our whole purpose, Steve, is to educate and to inform. And man, I'm so glad, and a smile comes on my face because of what you do, Knowledge for Life. And what we're beginning to see is young people, young, old, big, small, are beginning to become responsible and becoming to make better choices. And that's the key. We have to begin to make better choices and become responsible for our health. And we have to become conscious of who and what is programming the programmer.
Yeah.
Really.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of us, and you said it right in the very beginning, we're dying for lack of knowledge. How can a person take those first steps to begin to understand how to eat to live? You know what I mean? Because we're not taught in school. We're not taught at the home because our parents don't know. And so a lot of us are still eating what could be considered a slave diet, what we might call soul food today. But those foods are high in sodium, high in fat, and they're not even designed for our digestive system to be eaten, like collard greens. I mean, so can you talk a little bit about how we can take those steps?
Seek knowledge. Your program, Knowledge for Life. Become conscious and aware also of who you listen to. We must read. Very important is reading, asking questions. You know, there's a spiritual leader that says, you know, it is only through questioning that we can break this hypnosis of social conditioning. And we are being programmed and conditioned on a lot of different fronts. So it's so very important to become conscious and aware of that TV, of what we're are looking at on the TV, of the music in the radio, not necessarily. So those are some of the things that I think, you know, taking responsibility for your health is seeking knowledge and information. You have to be careful also in terms of, I know you go to the internet and you can Google, but also be conscious and aware of where that information is coming from. So that's what I mean in terms of being aware of where the information is coming from, but we must begin to seek the knowledge. We must begin to pass this on to our young. We must begin to tell them the importance of reading and then comprehending and then understanding and then developing that plan. Very important.
Now in the nation, we read the book by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. What are some books that you can also suggest a person who just might be starting out on wanting to find out how to maintain their temple properly?
We have 3 or 4 different books at Prescription for Nutritional Healing. There's another book called God's Way. There's another book called Healing is Voltage by Dr. Jerry Tennant that we have at Natural Foods Plus. We have a book section that, if in case people don't know, so we have books. So those are our three. Healing is Voltage, God's Way, and then Prescription for Nutritional Healing. Those are three. Juicing for Life, that's another one.
Now, let's just go through a few things that people just may take, just not even think of. Water. How important, because a lot of our children and even grown-ups, they say to me, I don't like water. And they drink pop, and these juices, like we said, with these high amounts of sugar in them. How important is water to the body?
Oh man, water, we are 70 to 75% water. So when you look at the contents of your body, and so water is very, very important. And so again, the type of water that we are consuming is so very, very important. My suggestion is to stay away from tap water with the fluoride and the chloride. Those are neurotoxins that over a period of time will cause chronic metabolic issues. And so again, it can become kind of confusing in terms of, okay, what type of water do I drink?
Right.
And
That's
so
true.
again, doing your research, doing your knowledge, find somebody that you think is reputable, and follow them and so forth. We have quite a few different selections of water, but water is so very, very important. Alkaline water, and then I don't want to, water is important.
Right. I mean, just going into just talking about water and its effects on the body, of course, we can only live, I think, no more than so many weeks without water. But the thing is that when we have water, we have to understand how, as you're saying, if our bodies are 75% water and we're not drinking water, but we're drinking juices, which may have a small amount of water, then what we're saying is that we're becoming dehydrated.
Absolutely.
This dehydrated can cause cramping. Dehydration can cause premature aging. So water is so important because it keeps, like oil in an engine, it keeps the joints and everything lubricated.
Absolutely. There's probably 20 to 25 different chronic issues that are caused by dehydration. Yeah. Dehydration is major, and so water is so very, very important.
So now when we talk about our fruits and vegetables, can you talk about what's at the dinner table and what we should have on our plate?
Live food. Okay, you are alive, we are alive. So number one, my suggestion is to have live food. Look at the fruits and the vegetables, and then juicing is so very, very important. And then you could take it even a step further, Brother Steve. No, not only you can take it, but it's very important that you take it a step further and be conscious and aware of the genetically modified chemicals that are on the fruits and the vegetables, the pesticides and the chemicals. So very, very important. So not only is it important to have the fruits and the vegetables as part of your daily routine, but then it's making sure that they are organic or non-GMO, which stands for genetically modified organisms and so forth.
I just found out, not recently, but not too long ago, and it just came as just a shock to me, that honey, not all honey is honey. I couldn't believe that. So you go to the store to purchase what you believe is honey, and it's something that's artificial. It's not something that's organic. It's not something that comes from the production of the bees.
Absolutely. We have local honey. We have local raw honey that's very, very important. And when you get honey from the environment, from the community, it there's something in the honey that makes it more relates to the there may be asthma or some respiratory conditions. Well, honey, when it's local, the bees are local. There's an aspect of helping health.
Local farmers, right?
Yeah. Not only the local farmers, but what it does for the body. Yeah.
Okay.
Local honey, local raw honey is so very, very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you talked about just having live foods on our plate. Many of the foods that we purchase now today are what's called processed foods. These processed foods, they come in the boxes. They come in the cans. Can you talk a little bit about these processed foods? I mean, when we look at, for instance, live foods, when we look at the ingredients, we can pronounce those ingredients. But when we look at these processed foods, you almost have to be a scientist to be able to understand what exactly is that ingredient in that food.
Absolutely. The processed foods, looking at the chemicals and the things that are within the foods. So as I said before, you are alive, so you want to eat live foods. Processed foods is a major cause of some of the conditions that we're experiencing today that you mentioned before. Let's take meat.
Yeah.
I'm not an advocate of meat, but if you're going to eat meat, it should be pasteurized without antibiotics or hormones. And so locally, there's a local farmer that produces this meat where you can go get. But if you're not, consuming meat that is without the antibiotics and the hormones, basically what you're doing, 80% of all antibiotics are given to the animals, are given to the pigs and the cows and the chickens. And so what happens when you eat the chicken and the meat and so forth that has the antibiotics, that has the hormones in it, that has the chemicals and the pesticides, you're feeding, again, 80% of your immune system is in your gut. For every one cell that you have 10 bacteria in your gut, okay? So every one cell, you have 10 bacteria. And so if you got 1 million cells, which is, you have more than that, you got 10 million bacteria, and they live in colonies. And so our challenge every day is to have 80% good, 20% bad bacteria. Well, what has happened, Brother Steve, over the years, we've eaten so much sugar and the pop and the fast food that we have begun to feed the bad bacteria. Now we have the bad bacteria overtaking the good bacteria, and we have 80% bad, 20% or either less good, and then that creates a acidic environment within the stomach, within the gut. And then that's where the chronic metabolic issues start. That's where cancer start, acid reflux, diabetes. I call it the perpetual cycle of pain and misery. Okay? It starts with, again, what we're putting in.
Right.
Garbage in, garbage out. And then, that perpetual cycle of pain and misery, no one is teaching us how to get off that cycle,
right?
Or no one is teaching us how not to get on that cycle. That's why I appreciate what you're doing here.
I appreciate you, and that diamond in the rough called Natural Foods Plus, because it is a diamond in the rough, just like the bookstores that are in our community. These are diamonds in the rough because, as you were saying, and some might call it a conspiracy theory, but if they go and research what's called Global 2000 by these global elite, there is if you will, a so-called conspiracy to control the population and even to cause some depopulation, because as these global elites see it, they have machines and computers that can now do what human labor used to do, and therefore they deem these human beings as useless feeders. And so through what you might call chemical or biological warfare that is covert, we're eating these foods and we don't realize that a lot of these foods And this is a report that people can go on the web and read about. They're saying that what the father eats affects not just what the mother
absolutely.
eats, but they're saying now what the father eats affects his genes, and it's called what they call epigenetics.
Epigenetics, yeah.
These turn switches on and turn switches off in the genes, and now children, and we're seeing, and we're, as a people, we're thinking this as being normal, but children are being born with chronic diseases.
Absolutely. Let me give you another perspective too. You know, for the ones out there, whether or not you believe that there's a conspiracy or not, there's another perspective in terms of when I make reference to the power elite and I make reference to there's 10 corporations that basically control the food. Their main purpose is, we live in a capitalistic country. Their main purpose is the dollar bill. Now, whether or not there's a conspiracy to destroy, their main purpose is to make money. So how fast can I make some money? They don't really care. They don't not necessarily care about you as a human being. I want to, you know, I want to grow that cow as quickly as I can.
That's right.
And so I'm gonna give it chemicals. I'm gonna give it the hormones. I'm gonna give it the antibiotics to get it as fast as I can to the market so I can make the money.
Yeah.
And so that's just another perspective.
Right.
But the epigenetics part, very interesting. Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's written a book called The Biology of Beliefs. And he talks about basically what you were talking about in terms of the fetal environment of a mother that's carrying a newborn and the importance of the nutritional component that the mother has to provide to the fetus. Very, very important, and how that affects the newborn.
Right.
And the father, I mean, it talks about how the baby can relate to the father, even though he, when the baby is first born, he talks about he knows who the father is because he has heard the father's voice and speaking and so forth. Epigenetics is a new, it's been around for a while, but it's a new science that basically talks more about the environment more so than about genetics.
Right.
There's a saying that I've been saying for years, and I got it from a friend. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And this was proven. There's a lot of testimonial by Dr. Lipton that talks about the importance of an environment more so than the genetics of a cell. So.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pottedger Cat Experiment. A Pottinger took these cats and he fed one set of cats raw food, another set of cats he fed processed foods. And by the third generation, these cats began to experience, they were born with ailments. They were experiencing tooth loss. They were experiencing, they were lethargic. They were very aggressive when you, antisocial, if you will. And the cats were not able to give birth. And those that did give birth died in birth. And then the male cats exhibited strange sexual behavior. This is all documented, of course, covered over by probably the establishment. But when we talk about these factory farms, and we look at what you talked about with hormones, I just want people to realize that young girls today, because they're raising these cattle fast, feeding them these hormones, young girls today are experiencing puberty at an earlier and earlier age. And that is due to the foods that they're eating that has these hormones, and then the antibiotics. Now when we go to the hospital, we may not come out alive because of what's called superbugs that are resistant to the antibiotics.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very well said. And young boys today getting breasts, a large breast because of the hormones that's in that they fed the cows, that's in the milk So, you begin to eat the milk, drink the milk, eat the cow, and there's relationships very similar to the study that you've given. I mean, look at where we are today. I shared with the people that in 1984 I had cancer. I had colon cancer. 3 years before that I had lost my dad to lung cancer. So I began to change my lifestyle back then. But in 1984, Brother Steve, it was 1 out of every 267 came down with cancer. So you got 267 people where there's 1. Okay, you got another 267, there's 1. Today is 1 out of every 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women has cancer. Something is wrong with the conventional medicine that we have. Something is wrong with the programming that we're doing.
That's right.
When I opened the store 20 years ago, it was every 30 seconds somebody had a heart attack or a stroke. Today, every 20 seconds somebody has a heart attack or a stroke. So, I mean,
and we know someone. I mean, that's how prevalent it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everyone that's listening to this program knows somebody that has had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. Cancer is so prevalent today; it's just unreal. So, man, that's what I mean in terms. It's time to take responsibility for our health. It's very, very. It's time.
And so we just have about 5 more minutes. Let's go into, I guess, some ways that we can begin to live a healthier life. We do have, luckily here in this city, we have a lot of community. I forget what it's called when they set up and they have their produce, but. Community gardens. We have community gardens, but we also have the co-ops. And so is that something that you would suggest us to do? Because, and I say that because of this, and I understand what our people's thinking is, because healthy living is somewhat expensive, but health is wealth. You know what I'm saying? So if you got good health, you have, in essence, wealth. When you have bad health and you know of anyone who's experiencing these ailments, just go look at their medical bills. Because a lot of what you hear about people going bankrupt is due to these medical bills that are outrageous. These pharmaceutical industries, who I believe are in cahoots with the factory farms or big agri, and make us sick. And now we watch television and we see their commercials on television, and all of the side effects, it just seems to outweigh what the medicine is intended to help you with. So it's just absurd.
Absolutely. Well, we want to leave on a positive note in terms of what can the people do. And you were speaking of the co-ops, the farmers market. I truly believe that it's not that expensive. If we look about how we were raised, solids, the potatoes, beans, pinto beans, navy beans, brown rice. I don't have a problem eating the same food day after day. So you can make a big pot of brown rice and a big pot of beans. If you're going to select the meat, make sure that it's farm-fed, no hormones and so forth. But truly, it's not that expensive. And then when you look at the results of eating improperly, what are the conditions there?
Right.
Water is so very, very important. You can come and get reverse osmosis water, and you can add, if you're going to drink reverse osmosis water, and it's only 59 cents a gallon, okay, then you add a teaspoon of Celtic or either Himalayan or pink salt. Your body can make minerals, but it cannot make, your body can make vitamins, but it cannot make minerals. And so salt is so very, very important, but it's the right type of salt. So those are some little things. Detoxification and cleansing, so very, very important. Cleansing, going on a fast, and then looking at cellular nutrition. If you come to Natural Foods Plus and the Juice Caboose, we are very unique in terms that we have some cellular nutrition there. We have something called E3 Live and Brain On. We have wheatgrass. We have a product called The Gift, which is formic and humic, which is 74 ionic minerals that goes down to the cellular level.
That's in a liquid form vitamin.
Absolutely. Very, very important.
And can you talk to us about, and we see you out on the trampoline in front of your store, can you talk up to us about exercise, and can you say a little bit about, there's a science to even breathing properly?
Oh, absolutely. Breathing properly, exercise, and you can choose the type of exercise, but one of the ones that I love is the rebounding, and I've been rebounding for quite a few years. Rebounding, for the ones who don't know, is a small trampoline, and you can work out. When you rebound, you're exercising every cell in the body. You're exercising the lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is located from the head to your feet. The lymphatic system is where your lymph nodes are located. And the first time you get cancer, they want to go in and take out 20, 30, 40, 50 lymph nodes to see if the cancer is in there. Well, when you exercise with the rebounding, you realign the forces of the universe. You realize gravity, acceleration, and deceleration. And when you do that, it opens up little lymph nodes it opens up the chambers in the lymph nodes, and it gets toxins out. So that's one of the big advantages, and you can do cardiovascular, it helps with the respiratory, cardiovascular, it helps with the lymphatic system. But exercises are so very, very important, and you choose the type. But that's one. Of course, walking, jogging, bike riding, and all of those.
But at least how many minutes of exercise a day would you say?
If you did the rebounding, 10, 15 minutes. Now, I may do a little bit more.
Right.
But rebounding is one. Walking, man, it's kind of cold now.
Yeah.
But even wrapping up, preparing for the cold and going out, deep breathing exercising is so very, very important. Also, there's so many things that you can do that could add value to your health.
Yeah. And as we unfortunately have to begin to close out, we don't want this to go by without you giving out your information where people can contact you and go and visit the store to learn more.
We're located here in Dayton, 2901 Philadelphia Drive at the corner of Philadelphia and Siebenthaler. It's called Natural Foods Plus and the Juice Caboose. And it's where healing and rejuvenation begins. When you come into the store, there's a rainbow. You follow the rainbow, and you will find that's where healing and rejuvenation begins. And again, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share knowledge and information, how we can become more healthier.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And so we want to begin to think of our lives in a way that we cherish our life and we maximize our life force by eating properly. Please visit Mr. Poole's store, Natural Foods Plus. I mean, I don't even want to call it a store. It's like, it's something else besides that, because you can get books there, you can get vitamins there, you can get knowledge there on how to live a proper life. And Mr. Poole was right. When you eat properly, you're not as hungry as you are when you eat these fast foods, because what you don't really realize is that these foods don't have any nutrients in them. Therefore, that's what's causing you to be hungry, is your body actually asking to be fed nutrients to survive. And so that's where obesity comes from.
Absolutely.
But that we're supposed to be closing out. But please visit him. And our first part of our show, begin to consider seriously to prepare yourself and your family for the, in case you have to evacuate, in case you have to stay in your home, make your home a sanctuary and not a cemetery. And so with that, we would like to leave you as we came before you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum, and may God continue to bless you and your family with the light of truth and understanding.
You gotta have it. 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 You gotta have knowledge for life. You gotta have knowledge.